When Serena told me she was going on a spring beach week and I was not invited, I smiled and said, "Have fun." And that quiet answer surprised even me, because a part of my brain had already stopped negotiating. It was not the trip itself that ended us. It was the way she said it, like I was a detail she could delete. We had been living together for almost 2 years, and for most of that time I convinced myself that patience was love, and that reliability would eventually be appreciated. I am 32, I work as an operations lead for a construction supply distributor outside Raleigh. Long shifts, early starts late, calls, the kind of job where you solve problems. Before other people know they exist, I paid the rent, I paid utilities, I paid groceries, I paid the car insurance, I paid the streaming subscriptions I paid, because she said money conversations gave her anxiety, and I believed soothing her anxiety was part of being a partner. Serena was 26, she called herself. A social media strategist in practice. That meant scrolling trends, filming coffees, editing short videos, and saying she was building her brand. Sometimes a client paid her for a weekend campaign, and she would celebrate like it was a breakthrough. But the money never stayed. It flowed into clothes, salon appointments, rides, and little upgrades that were always urgent. At the beginning, she was fun. She pulled me out of routine. She made me feel younger. I believed I was supporting a dream I did not notice. When support became expectation, I did not notice. When expectation became entitlement. It happened slowly, like water rising in a room, until one day you realize you are breathing through your mouth. That Tuesday night, I came home after a 10-hour day, and the apartment looked like a storm. Hitted swimsuits on the couch, glitter, tops on the floor, heels lined up on the kitchen counter. Serena was in the bedroom forcing clothes into a hard-shell suitcase, the one I bought her for her birthday. I asked what was going on, and she did not look up. She said, "Packing for Isla Verde, leaving Friday." I froze because we had never talked about Isla Verde. She finally glanced at me and rolled her eyes like I was slow. She said, "Nadia and the girls are going, and it is a girls' trip, no boyfriends allowed. Besides, you would kill. The vibe, you are always serious. You would want to sleep early and complain about the music." I felt heat rise in my chest. I said, "I have not taken a real vacation in years because I am saving for our future, and you are spending $2,000 to party with single friends." She spun toward me, and her face twisted into that familiar mask of offense. Here we go, throwing money in my face again. "You know I am networking. This is part of my work. And honestly, this controlling energy is exactly why I need a break from you." I looked at her, and something in me settled. I saw the entitlement in her posture and the lack of gratitude in her eyes. I said, I realized she did not see me as a boyfriend. She saw me as infrastructure, like electricity, like water, like Wi-Fi. "You do not thank the Wi-Fi for working. You just get annoyed. When it slows down, fine," I said. "Go have the time of your life." She stopped packing, surprised by my surrender. A smug smile crept onto her face. She walked over and patted my cheek like I was a child who finally behaved. "See," she said, "I knew you would get it." Then she added, "Can you transfer me 400 just for emergencies? Nadia says the clubs have high covers, and can you print my boarding pass?" I stared at her and felt a specific gear in my brain disengage. It was the gear that used to protect her from consequences. "Sure," I said, "I will send it now." I sent the money, I printed the boarding pass. I even drove her to the airport the next morning. In the car, she talked nonstop about VIP tables and a boat party and how Nadia knew promoters. I drove in silence and watched her excitement bounce off the windshield and fall back onto her lap. At the terminal, she did not kiss me goodbye. She checked her makeup in the visor mirror, opened the door, and said, "Do not wait up. When I get back next week, we might land late. I might crash at Nadia S. Have fun," I said. She slammed the door and walked away, dragging the suitcase I bought, wearing clothes I paid for, going on a trip funded partly by my overtime. I drove home, and the apartment felt quiet in a good way. I said, for the first time in 2 years, I heard my own thoughts without her voice correcting them. I sat on the couch, and noticed her old tablet on the coffee table. She used it for shows. While I cooked, it lit up with a notification I was not snooping, but the message preview was right there. A group chat name full of palm trees and drink emojis, Nadia wrote. Did you get the money? Serena wrote, yep. The wallet came through 400 for emergencies, Nadia wrote. He's such a sweet fool. Does he know Leo is meeting us? My blood turned to ice. Leo was her ex from college, the one she swore she blocked, the one she described as toxic and broke. But exciting, Serena wrote, of course not. He thinks I am going to reset and find myself. I told him he is too boring to come. Imagine bringing him to a club he would just stand there like a dad I need a week off from playing house. Nadia wrote, good. Leo booked a table at the beach club. We are all single for 7 days. Serena wrote, correction. I am single. Until rent is due next month. I stared at the words, wallet and single until rent is due. She did not just disrespect me. She monetized me. She turned our relationship into a billing cycle. I set the tablet down gently. I did not scream. I did not throw anything. A strange calm washed over me. It was the clarity of a man who finally understands the rules of a game he never agreed to play. I walked through the apartment and did inventory like a manager closing a store. The lease was in my name. The deposit was from my bank. The couch was mine. The TV was mine. The kitchen set was mine. Even the towels were mine. She was not on the lease because she said paperwork stressed her out. I kept everything in my name because she said bills made her spiral. It felt generous at the time. Now it felt like a blessing. I called my landlord Mr. Keene, an older man with a blunt voice who treated conversations like invoices. He never liked Serena. She once called him late because a light bulb went out another time. I'd because she saw a spider, I said. Mr. Keene, I need to talk about the lease I am moving, out this week. He asked, is the girl staying? I said, no, she is not on the lease. She cannot afford it, and she is not my responsibility anymore. He grunted and said, good. Then he said, you want your deposit back? The place better be spotless, I said. It will be, and I have a replacement tenant. A friend from my gym named Vince Quiet pays on time electrician. He will not call you about light bulbs. Mr. Keene made a sound like approval and said, send him over. I called Vince. Vince is 6'4", shaved head tattoos. He repairs high-voltage lines, and he looks like he eats gravel for breakfast. But he is the gentlest man I know. He had been sleeping on his brother's couch. After a rough breakup, I said, you want my place starting Monday, he said. Yes, I said, one catch. My ex comes back next Thursday, and she thinks she lives there. Vince laughed a deep rumble and said, say less. The next 3 days I erased my existence. Packing my things was easy. Packing hers required detachment. I refused to become the villain in a story she could sell online. No destruction, no threats, no dramatic confrontations. Just clean legal finality. I went to a hardware store and bought 20 heavy-duty boxes, a roll of black trash bags and plastic bins. I cleared her closet designer dresses I paid for folded once, then dropped into a box her makeup collection that owned the entire bathroom counter swept into. A bin in one calm motion, shoes into trash bags, hair tools into another bag. I labeled nothing. I moved my furniture into a small storage unit. I patched a nail hole here, touched up paint there. I steam cleaned the carpet, I wiped the fridge, I left the apartment emptier each night, and the emptier it got, the lighter my chest felt. Serena texted me from the trip as if nothing had happened. Service is bad, babe, miss you. Can you send another 200? Nadia wants bottle service. I did not reply. I blocked her on payment apps. I changed passwords. I turned off auto, pay for her extras. I did it calmly, like canceling subscriptions. By Sunday night, the apartment was unrecognizable, bare walls, no couch, no TV, no photos, no trace of us. I left one envelope on the counter for Vince. Garage remote mailbox key, simple instructions I took. Serena S. boxes, and stacked them in the detached garage. It was not climate-controlled. It smelled like dust, and old oil spiders lived in the corners. I placed her life in that space without ceremony. I put a padlock on the garage. The code was simple: 5814. She would not be able to say I hid anything. On Monday, Vince signed the lease with Mr. Keene. Vince changed the locks that night. I returned my keys, and I moved into a small downtown condo I had wanted for years. Serena hated places like it. She called them cold and industrial. I called it peace. Thursday afternoon, a week after she left, Serena came back. Vince later told me he watched her walk up like she owned the world. Tan glowing, smiling, dragging her suitcase, expecting me to open the door like a trained dog. She slid her key into the lock, and it would not turn. She jiggled it, tried again, then pounded on the door and yelled my name. She was probably seconds away from calling me to blame me for the broken lock. Then the deadbolt slid back, and the door opened. Not by me, by Vince. He filled the doorway in, a grease-stained tank top holding a mixing bowl of cereal like it was a movie night. Serena froze. She checked the apartment number like reality might be wrong. She said, "Who are you?" Vince chewed slowly, swallowed, and said, Vince, who are you?" Serena snapped, "I live here, where is Mark? What are you doing in my apartment?" Vince smiled without warmth and said, "Your apartment. No, this is my apartment. I signed the lease, Monday paid the deposit. Tuesday moved in yesterday." Her face drained of color under the tan. She said, "That is not possible. My stuff is here. My furniture." Vince pointed with the spoon into the empty living room. "Ain't no furniture in here except my recliner, and my TV place was empty." When I got it, Serena tried to push past him. Vince did not move. He leaned an arm against the doorframe and became a wall. He said, "You want your boxes checked, the garage code is 5814. You got 2 hours. Before I leave for my shift, I lock the gate. When I go, and I do not get back till morning." She screamed, "You cannot. Do this, I have rights. Vince said you are not on the lease and you are trespassing. Get your boxes and get off my porch." Then he closed the door. My phone rang a few minutes later. Serena, I was sitting on my balcony, downtown, with a cold beer, watching the sky change colors. I let it ring twice, then answered calm. "Hello, what the hell's going on?" She screamed. "Why is my key not working? Who is that man? Where are you? Where is my stuff?" I took a slow sip and said, "Hey Serena, glad you made it back safe." "Fix this now," she shouted. "There is nothing to fix." I said, "You wanted space, you wanted a break. You told your friends you were single until rent was due, so I made it true. I did not want you to move out." She said, "I just went on vacation." "No," I said, "you went on a singles trip. You called me the wallet. You laughed about Leo meeting you. You said you were free for a week from playing house with me." Silence hit the line like a door closing. Then her voice came small. "You saw that I read every word I said. The wallet is closed. The lease was mine, so I ended it. The furniture was mine, so I took it. The only things left for you are the things you paid for yourself." She started crying real tears or panic tears. It did not matter. She said, "It was just talk, just jokes with the girls." She said, "She loved me." She said, "I could not leave her homeless." "You are not homeless." I said, "You are single. You wanted independent and free." "Congratulations, but I have nowhere to go." She pleaded. "Nadia is not answering. My parents are hours away. Please come get me. You have 2 hours before Vince locks the gate." I said, "Stop calling me and start calling a truck." Goodbye, I hung up and blocked her number. I learned the rest through Vince and mutual friends, and the predictability of someone facing consequences for the first time. Serena spent an hour crying on the curb, surrounded by her bags. Then she called a moving company. It was after 5, and they charged emergency rates. She had to use her own credit card, the one with a limit she treated like free money. She did not go to a hotel. She went to Nadia's studio apartment. Nadia loved the fantasy of Serena being single and fun. She did not love the reality of Serena being broke and depressed on her love seat. The sisterhood lasted 3 days. By Monday, Nadia told her to leave. Because she was ruining the vibe, Serena tried the only weapon she thought she still had: the internet. She posted a long, tearful story claiming I abandoned her out of jealousy. She hinted that I was controlling. She tried to paint herself as a victim who had been thrown out. It lasted an hour. People who knew us knew the truth. They knew I paid the rent. They knew I made the car payment on the Audi she drove. They knew I drove an old pickup and wore the same boots for years. A mutual friend commented publicly, "Didn't you just call him the wallet in your trip chat? Didn't you say you were single until rent was due?" She deleted the post. Then she tried to call me from a different number. I blocked that too. 3 weeks later, her car got repossessed. Not because I wanted revenge, because I stopped paying for a vehicle that was never mine in spirit. Without my payments, the bank did what banks do. Without me, Serena's life did not stumble, it dropped. No savings, bad credit, no steady income, and friends who loved her only when she was buying rounds. 2 months after the trip, she moved back to her hometown near Dayton to live with her parents, I heard. Her dad made her get a job managing shifts at a retail chain. Meanwhile, my life got quiet, and then it got good. Not in a flashy way, in a real way. I used the money I stopped lighting, on fire, to clear debt, to eat better, to join a boxing gym, to sleep, to breathe. I said, I realized stress had been living in my shoulders like a permanent tenant, and it finally moved out. I did not date while I was not heartbroken, I was recalibrating. I was learning the difference between love and obligation, between generosity and being used. Then I met Claire. Claire was an architect. She was grounded, she was direct. She laughed at my jokes and paid her share without turning it into a speech. She had her own apartment, her own savings, her own boundaries. Being around her felt like drinking water. After years of living on soda, 6 months later, Claire and I were at a home improvement store on a Saturday morning. We were picking pendant lights for a kitchen renovation. Not because I was paying for it, because we were splitting costs on a place we bought together. I was holding a box of matte fixtures when a cart with a wobbly wheel squeaked down the aisle. I looked up and saw a woman in stained sweatpants and a faded hoodie roots grown out blonde gone brassy exhaustion on her face. It took a second for my brain to connect the image to the memory. Then she looked up and froze Serena. Her eyes widened as she scanned me: new boots, better posture, clearer face. Then Claire beside me, calm, confident. Serena stepped forward with a desperate smile that arrived too fast. "Mark, wow, you look great. I heard you stayed in the city." I did not panic. My heart did not race. I felt bored. "Hello, Serena," I said, polite and distant like a cashier. She ignored Claire and leaned in. "I've been thinking about you so much. Ohio is a nightmare. I grew up a lot. I was immature. I was confused." She reached for my arm. I stepped back smoothly. "Can we get coffee?" she said. "Just to talk. We never got closure. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I miss us. I miss your cooking. I miss feeling safe." Claire watched quietly with one eyebrow raised, like she already understood the pattern. Serena was not missing me. She was missing the lifestyle. She was missing the wallet. "We do not need closure," I said. "You closed the door. When you got on that plane, I just locked it behind you. But I can fix it." She pleaded. "I will do anything." "Ready to go?" Claire asked me softly. "Yeah," I said. Serena's face crumpled. "Please, Mark. There's nothing to fix," I said. "You wanted a life where you did not have to answer to me. You have it. Enjoy it." We walked away. I did not look back. Later in the car, Claire asked who that was. I said, nobody. Just an old bill I finished paying off. Here is what I learned. Love does not call you boring. While spending your overtime, love does not ask you to print a boarding pass. For a trip you are not allowed to take, love does not call you a wallet and then cry when the account closes. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is leave quietly. Not to punish anyone, but to stop punishing yourself. People asked me later why I did it so fast, like speed was cruelty, but speed was mercy. Every extra day would have been another day of bargaining, another day of her rewriting reality, another day of me trying to explain basic respect to someone who treated respect like a favor. On the night I saw that chat, I sat at the kitchen table with a notebook and wrote facts, not feelings, fact. The lease is mine, fact. Her name is nowhere, fact. Every major item was bought on my card. Fact, she has a pattern of calling me controlling. When I ask for accountability, fact, she is planning to act single while expecting me to keep paying. I did not need a dramatic confrontation. I needed a clean exit. I called my bank and removed her as an authorized user on the shared card. I turned off auto payments for the subscription, boxes she ordered monthly. I redirected mail to my new address. I updated my payroll deposit so her late-night requests could not tempt me. Each small step felt like taking back a breath. I also prepared for the predictable backlash. Serena loved two things more than anything: attention and a narrative where she was innocent. I knew if I left without noise, she would create noise for me. So I documented everything: screenshots of the chat, copies of the lease, photos of the apartment empty, and clean receipts from the storage unit. I did not post them. I just kept them, because peace is easier when you have proof. Vince asked me once if I felt guilty. I told him I felt late, because the truth was, I should have left months earlier when I first noticed the disrespect, but I stayed, because I thought love meant endurance, and because I was afraid of being the bad guy. It took one line in a group chat to show me I was already the bad guy in her story, not because of anything I did, but because I existed as an obstacle between her and unlimited comfort. After she moved out of Nadia's place, Serena tried other routes. She messaged my coworkers on social apps. She sent long emails from accounts I had never seen. She claimed she was having panic attacks. She said she was scared. She said she just needed one more chance, one more conversation, one more coffee. Then, when that did not work, she swung to cruelty. She wrote that I was small, that I would regret it, that nobody would want me, that I was a boring man with a boring life. Those messages would have shattered me a year earlier, but by then I could see the mechanism: first pleading, then punishing, like a child pressing buttons on a broken toy. I did one thing I had avoided for years. I booked a few sessions with a therapist, not to analyze Serena, but to analyze me. Why did I accept crumbs? Why did I equate love with paying? Why did I confuse calm with conflict avoidance? The therapist said something that stuck: you were not paying for love. You were paying to avoid being called selfish. That hit hard, because it was true. I did not want to be the man who leaves. I wanted to be the man who fixes. And Serena learned that about me early. She learned she could threaten my identity, and I would hand her my wallet to prove I was good. Once I saw that pattern, it could not unsee it. Life after her was not instantly perfect. Some nights I still reached for my phone when it buzzed, my body trained to respond to her emergencies. I had to relearn that not every problem is mine, and that real partnership does not require panic. I rebuilt friendships I had neglected. Serena used to call my friends boring and my plans childish. Now I played pickup basketball again. I cooked with my brother on Sundays. I went hiking without asking permission. The quiet became addictive. Months later, a mutual friend told me Serena still talked about me like I owed her. She told people I abandoned her. She told people I was insecure. She told people she could have had anyone. I laughed when I heard that, not because it was funny, but because it proved she learned nothing. Claire once asked what I feared most about that relationship. Ending, I told her the truth. I feared the emptiness. I feared coming home to silence. Then I smiled and said, "The silence saved me." Sometimes people think boundaries are punishment, but boundaries are not revenge. They are clarity. If you are listening to this, and you are paying for someone to tolerate you if you are being called boring, while you fund the fun if you are being told you are controlling, when you ask for basic respect, then hear this. You do not need a bigger argument. You need a door. The day Serena returned and found the lock changed was not a moment of cruelty. It was a moment of alignment. She wanted to be single. She wanted freedom. She wanted to live like the rules did not apply. I simply stopped shielding her from the rules. And yes, it was harsh, but it was honest. Here's the part people miss. I did not leave, because she went on a trip. I left, because I finally understood my place in her life. I was a function, not a person. Pay the bill, print the pass, drive the car, apologize for having feelings. On the outside, Serena looked confident. Inside, she was terrified of accountability, and she dealt with that fear by turning other people into tools. I was not special to her. I was useful. That is why, when she saw me in the store months later, she did not ask how I was. She complimented how I looked. She noticed the watch, the boots, the calm. She noticed the result, not the work. She said she missed feeling safe. But safety is not a service you extract from someone. Safety is something you build together. Claire, and I still disagree sometimes, but the disagreements do not feel like war. They feel like two adults trying to understand. She does not punish me with silence. She does not reward me with affection only when I pay. She does not call me boring when I am responsible. One night, Claire asked what I would tell the version of me who printed that boarding pass. I said, I would tell him this: stop performing love, start requiring it. Love without respect is just labor. If you are the person always paying, always apologizing, always shrinking, remember you are allowed to choose yourself. You can leave without screaming. You can leave without breaking things. You can leave with your dignity intact. And if someone calls you selfish for setting boundaries, let them, because the people who benefit from your lack of boundaries are the loudest. When you finally draw one. I did not win by hurting Serena. I won by stopping the slow hurt. She was handing me every day I walked out of that old apartment with a single key in my pocket and a lighter chest, and for the first time in years, I did not feel lonely. I felt free. A week after the repossession, Serena tried to message me through a friend. She said she just needed help getting back on her feet, that she had learned her lesson, that she was sorry. I asked the friend one question: did she mention anything about the things she said in that chat about calling me the wallet, about planning to be single until rent was due? The friend went quiet and said no. She only talked about what she lost. That was all the answer. I never hated Serena. I just stopped rescuing her, and rescue is the drug some people live on months later. Hurt her father made her start paying rent at home. Not because he was cruel, but because he was tired of watching her learn nothing. Maybe one day she will grow. Maybe she will not. Either way, it is no longer my project to manage. All I know is this: the moment I stopped paying for disrespect, my life finally started paying me back. So if your story sounds familiar, if you are being treated like a resource instead of a person, do not wait for the perfect moment. Choose a clean moment. Make a plan. Protect yourself. Leave with facts and calm, and let the lock click behind you. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge is not revenge at all. It is peace. And when peace arrives, it will feel strange at first, like silence after years of noise, but give it time. It becomes the sound of your life returning. You deserve that return, and you do not need permission to take it, I said.